Today is a big day for Bitcoin. Giga Chad Michael Saylor just bought $600 million worth of Bitcoin. And guess what? He's not even close to done yet. We have further clarity on the upcoming Bitcoin spot ETF. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how I plan on doubling my Bitcoin holdings within the next 41 days. All right, guys, if that sounds good to you, if you're excited about this video, like the video. If you're new to the channel, what's up? My name is Kyle Chasse. I've been in crypto for 12 years, bringing you guys all the alpha that you need to take full advantage of this upcoming super cycle of a lifetime. All right, guys, let's get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is, yeah, that's right, Giga Chad, Michael Saylor, and MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy has acquired an additional 16,130 Bitcoin for $593.3 million at an average price of $36,785 per Bitcoin. As of November 29th, 23, MicroStrategy now holds 174,530, acquired for $5.28 billion at an average price of $30,252 per Bitcoin. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This guy is just, and he also holds, Michael Saylor himself, just in his personal piggy bank at home, has like 17,000 Bitcoin, I'm pretty sure. So people, have been saying today on X that, that this is a clear sell signal. And I'm going to tell you guys why it's not. And at the end of the video, I'm going to show you the bet that I'm making that it's not. So we can see here, this is also, if you guys have been watching my channel for a while, then you know this, what I'm about to say. But if you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm glad you could finally join us. These green dots on the screen here are where Saylor and MicroStrategy have bought Bitcoin. Now, of course, a lot of people, he started buying back here. So was that the top? No, that was the Pico bottom. This is the Pico bottom over here. And you can see that he bought here and here on the way up, here, also not the top of the top. And then, all these buys up here were pretty expensive. But even this isn't, so bad over here, like 45,000, whatever, 50,000. Yeah, here, okay, yeah, the top. But then again, he bought down here. That's pretty low. This one was at like same price we're at right now. And then, yeah, okay, these are at the top, or no, a bit higher. But here, another bottom. So you can see this green line down here, guys. Let me see if you can see that, and because my face might be in the way here. Let's see. Here we go. Bring it up. So you can see that this is how effective dollar cost averaging is. So it doesn't matter if you bought, up here, down here, whatever. But when you dollar cost average, you can see here that it makes a nice line to where eventually you're going to have outperformed the market. So you can see from the statistics over here that from all of his dollar cost averaging right now, at the very, very beginning of this next mega bull run we're about to go into, he's up 23.87% with a profit of $1.27 billion so far. Not bad. Not bad for a company, considering that I think he was making $500,000 or so before in cash for MicroStrategy. So pretty phenomenal here, pretty phenomenal. So you can see that this is what people are saying. It's always comical. This is Will Clemente. It's always comical when all the 5-minute time frame traders start trying to dunk on Saylor for buying the local top. We just disproved that. Man is playing an entirely different game on a multi-decade time frame. This is just funny. I thought this is just funny. This guy, he says, "No one cares what you have to say, crypto nerd." It's like, this guy must feel so jealous that he didn't get in to Bitcoin a long time ago. That's only, look, he even has 21 million. What do you have? 20? I don't understand this guy anyway. Then Will goes, yeah, like the guy who comments on my feed here, and then he goes, Elon's gay. I'll go put your tweet in front of me. I just wanted to remind you that you're always a joke, like Pomp, your boy Della left. And then this guy, he goes, I feel bad for you, which is obviously, and then I don't care about you at all. Or I don't think about you at all. So anyway, hilarious. I just thought this was funny. This was funny. Okay. I'm not going to play this for you because I forgot to put my headphones in and you guys are going to complain about the sound. It doesn't matter. This is just Michael Saylor. I was going to play it, but my bad. And I'm not going to stop the video now because that would be annoying. So anyway, in this clip, he just is talking. This is obviously a while ago. What's his name? Tucker Carlson was still at Fox before he got fired and then went and just completely had a Giga Chad move, and now has way more views than Fox could ever dream of. But this is when he had Michael Saylor on. He basically says, "Oh, so you buying or selling your Bitcoin?" And Saylor just says, "I'm just buying, just always buying. Every chance I get, I just buy more." And then Saylor jokes in here that says he's always going to be buying the top, right? Because he's just always going to buy. And so when you're always making buys, you're always buying top, right? And then we see, obviously, from the chart I showed you earlier, that's absolutely not true. So Walter Bloomberg says MicroStrategy files for up to a $750 million ATM offering of stock. So what this means, I looked it up for you guys so you don't have to. Basically, what Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy are looking to do is issue some more stock, Class A shares, in order to get an additional $750 million to buy more Bitcoin. So he bought $600 million the last couple of days, and he's planning on buying up to $750 more. I'm sure he's doing whatever he can because he knows the halving is coming. He knows an ETF is coming, and he knows Bitcoin's about to pop off. So, of course, he's just going to go through every angle that he possibly can to get all the cash he can to buy Bitcoin while it's still quote unquote cheap. Makes a lot of sense to me. I'm trying to do the same exact thing right now. MicroStrategy acquired 1,630 for blah, blah, blah. We talked about this. So this is the interesting, this is how he does it, in case you guys are ever wondering. So MicroStrategy issues debt to buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes up against the debt. MicroStrategy's market cap goes up. MicroStrategy market cap goes up. The weight and indices go up. MicroStrategy issues equity to buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes up. MicroStrategy's market cap goes up. Weight and indices go up. MicroStrategy issues more equity to buy Bitcoin, total Bitcoin, and rinse, wash, repeat, rinse, wash, repeat. This is exactly what I do with Aave too, by the way, guys. And if you saw my Chainlink video yesterday, that was sick. And I know it's quite technical for a lot of people, but like the long and short is that Chainlink's awesome. But I have this dilemma now, because this is how I use Aave in the exact same fashion here. I deposit my assets in Aave. I take a loan out of them. I borrow against my collateral. In stablecoin, I buy more Bitcoin. I buy more ETH. I buy more Link. I redeposit those. And as more collateral, the asset values increase. The market goes up. My collateral value goes up. I can have more debt to take out. So I take out more debt. In stablecoin, I buy more assets, put them back in as collateral. That value goes up. My LTV ratio is improved. I can take out more debt and rinse, wash, repeat, rinse, wash, repeat. This is literally, I do the exact same thing as Saylor, right? And let me know in the comments below if you'd like me to make a video on how to do this. I think it's a really smart move, nonetheless. So Byzantine General says, it's crazy to me that people are saying that Michael Saylor is buying and is bearish when he has already filed for another $750 million to buy, right? And so this is, I have a feeling like people want exposure to MicroStrategy stock. It's going to be a company probably worth $1 trillion in the next 10 years. So just so you know, it's worth $7 billion right now. It's 146x. So any smart investor is going to be looking to buy MicroStrategy stock. So I have a feeling in the past when he's tried to go out and get more money to buy Bitcoin, it hasn't been an issue for him. So I'm pretty sure that he probably already has secured the $750 million. He's probably looking for some sort of little dip or just going to wait, see what happens. But people are watching what's going on with MicroStrategy. Like, I said this last time I was talking about him too. I said MicroStrategy. It's the same thing, right? Say Michael Saylor, MicroStrategy, mix and match. Only crypto Twitter people will say, haha, that's so bearish, when they know for a fact that the billionaire bid will continue. Then I just saw this comment here. Crypto Twitter is filled with fucking retards. I don't know why people are choose to ignore, stuff sometimes. But anyway, this is the case that I'm building of why I'm about to take this bet. I'll show you guys in a bit here. So going super early on Franklin today and potentially hashtags coming too would set things up for a full wave of approvals in early January, might be reasoning. So this is regarding the Bitcoin spot ETF. This is James Seyfart. We talk about him a lot. He's a Bloomberg analyst, specifically in the ETF division. And just shortly after this went out, you can see this was just the last post was 11:06. This is 11:52. Okay, this delay on hashtags all but confirms for me that this was likely a move to line every applicant up for potential approval by January 10th, 2024 deadline. So things are getting quite exciting here. Now, here's a little bit more explanation. So James says the SEC met with Hashdex on Monday the 27th, and then the SEC issued a delay order the next day on their application. This is another in a continuing flow of indications that the SEC is working hard with potential Bitcoin ETFs issuers on back-end details and plumbing. So this is a really, really positive sign. It explains that essentially, you know, we've talked about it before. They have this this commenting period, and if they didn't make these delays, they need to approve. The SEC can't approve these. They can approve some of them, but they can't approve the ones that are in this commenting period. And so they have to line up the timelines just right so that they can approve all the spot ETF applications at once. And we know, we're pretty dang sure that that's what the SEC wants to do, because if they don't, they will be sued for unfair bias, because all of these applications are exactly the same. They're all identical. And so there's no real reason why the SEC could approve one and not the other. And so this is a clear move without the SEC telling us directly, but they're kind of telling us that they needed to have a perfect timeline somewhere between January 2nd and January 10th for this thing. So we have between 33 and 41 days for this, you know, from in that timeline from now, when we are likely to get a Bitcoin spot ETF approval. I, by this point, have pretty much all but accepted it's probably not happening this year, even though we had Mike Novogratz before say it would happen this year, but it's going to happen the very, very, very beginning of next year. So it's still 1 month, one and a half month, you know, one and a third months from now. It's on like Donkey Kong, ladies and gentlemen, on and on. So Eric Balkunas is he's James homie over there at Bloomberg. He says ARC21 shares has ace up its sleeve in the Bitcoin ETF Derby, as it's likely to move $130 million out of GBTC and into ARC-B. So GBTC is the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, and ARC-B is ARC21 shares, or Cathie Wood's Bitcoin spot ETF ticker. Early bring your own assets is equivalent to a starter log, but doesn't guarantee a big fire, but it helps. And they'll need it going against the likes of BlackRock, Fidelity. So new from me and James. So what he's saying here is that right now, ARK Invest has $130 million, you can see from this little chart down here, in GBTC. Now, they can, and they likely will, because they're going to have so ARC21 will have their own Bitcoin spot ETF instrument, their own product. And so to kickstart that, what Eric is referring to as the fire starter, the starter log. And if you guys don't know what that means, it's just like this thing that you buy at the store when you go camping, and you put the starter log and the fire and the wood on top of it. So it makes it much easier to start a fire versus like try to start little twigs with a match and leaves and stuff. So like it says, it will definitely help start things quicker, but it doesn't guarantee they're going to be the winner or the one with the most, you know, Bitcoin under management. So it's a good start. It's a very, very good start. And then we go into, here we can talk. So the derby for assets and liquidity in these potential future spot Bitcoin ETFs is going to be fun to watch and cover. Cannot wait. And this is the interesting part here that Eric says. He says, what people don't realize is there's never in ETF history has there been a case where multiple products that basically do the exact same thing have launched on the same day. For ETF nerds, this is going to be a fascinating experiment, one for the history books, the Bitcoin Tucky Derby. What people also may or may not realize is there's probably never, ever, ever, almost, actually, in fact, I guarantee there's never, ever been, probably ever, an instrument going for approval from the SEC where there's been so much interest around the world in this thing, right? Everybody that's watching this video, everybody in crypto, everybody in TradFi, pretty much everybody except for the guy in the comments that I just read who thinks that crypto nerds are crypto guys are nerds. That guy probably doesn't care, but he's he's not going to make it, so we don't care about him. But it's fascinating, right? We've talked. If you guys have been watching my channel for a while, we've showed you that the interest from crypto Twitter has literally broken government websites before from going to checking the ticker symbol on the website of the government of Delaware. So very, very interesting. So Eric and so this guy from Day Trading BTC says, Eric and Jeff, how is anybody going to compete with Grayscale's $20 billion head start? So Grayscale, the GBDC, if you guys don't remember, I'll refresh your memory real quick. So GBDC has like $20 billion, 670 something thousand Bitcoin right now in their GBDC trust. And remember, Grayscale sued the SEC because the SEC wouldn't allow them to convert their GBDC trust into a Bitcoin spot ETF. Remember, Grayscale won that lawsuit, which means that the court said that SEC, you have to let these guys convert this to a Bitcoin spot ETF. So because it's a conversion, they're going to start with all of these Bitcoin in their spot ETF. So they're asking, isn't that going to just make them the market leader? Because we've heard Eric and Jeff come out before and say that that usually it's not a winner take all, but it's a winner take most scenario in these ETF things with these investment instruments. So we'll probably see that but this is going to be interesting to see who dominates, because it's kind of a market signal. Everyone's kind of looking like, oh, who's everyone else going to buy their Bitcoin spot ETF products from, And so he says, it's a fair point. It definitely can't hurt, but a few caveats. One, that's if they are making that's if they make starting gate. So if they get started at the gate, the 20 billion won't show up as flows or volume like ARCs will of their bring your own asset injection. So what he's saying there, number two, is that people are going to look for who saw the biggest inflows into the spot ETF products. Who did, Grayscales will just show up as they have 20 billion under management on day one. But ARCs will show on day one when they transition that 130 million from GBDC into the ARC 21 shares ETF product. It'll show inflows of 130 million. So for people who aren't paying attention, like you guys and me, they will think that, wow, that's a huge amount of volume already into ARC. Must be something beneficial there. I'm going to go check it out. And three is the 2% fee arguably offsets any advantage, but that could be lower before the launch. We'll see. So all of these, the reason that these guys were really excited to do these spot products is because they take management fees. Essentially, they sit there and they don't even have to custody the Bitcoin, right? They just make this investment product up out of thin air. They get on the phone, they get their investors, the money people that they manage their money to give them money, and then they go buy Bitcoin. Then they give it to Coinbase, and Coinbase buys Bitcoin and holds it for them, right, as custodian. So. And they charge these management fees. And so one of the competing factors, like since they're all offering the same product, literally a Bitcoin spot ETF, people are asking what's going to make them different and what's going to have them compete versus each other. And one of the good points right here is fees, right? So like they're going to have little different nuances. Like some of them are going to be white glove service that pick you up in a limo to take you to the thing and give you like a latte, vanilla pumpkin spice. And then they, give you a pedicure and massage and like take your money, right? And some of them are just gonna have lower fees, and some of them, like maybe BlackRock, won't have to do any of that because they're BlackRock. So again, all interesting things leading into this Bitcoin spot ETF. I can't believe we're getting so close to doing it. I remember making videos for you guys 3 months ago and thinking like that seems soon, but it was really so far away. And now we're coming in. It's December 1st right now. It's midnight over here, so December 1st, which means that in 2 weeks we're all going to be taking time to celebrate the holidays with family and stuff like that. And so we're going to the markets will get pretty quiet. Volume tends to kind of decrease by those times. Hopefully you guys are out doing something fun with family, taking a holiday. I don't know, or maybe you're just hustling because you want to get going taking side hustles to get every dollar you can to buy Bitcoin before this ETF gets approved. In that case, congratulations, you're very, very smart. Okay, but the point is that this thing is around the corner, right? And remember in my videos, I said that the closer that we got to November, the more comfortable I felt that we're not going to see a black swan event. Well, we're past November already. We're very, very close to this. We have election season coming up in 30 days, 2024. Markets have always been historically super, super bullish in election years. In fact, they almost always have been bullish in election years. So everything's shaping up to be very, very positive. This is, again, why I reiterate, not yesterday's video, but the day before, I said, respectfully, I disagree with Rand, where he thinks that there's a big sell-off coming very, very soon and planning accordingly. For me, I'm taking the opposite approach, where I'm planning for any type of sell-offs that might happen get swiftly bought up by people like Michael Saylor and his $750 million clip he's about ready to fire should a little bit of a dip come. And we already know, if you guys have been watching my videos, you know that BlackRock already is, they are going to, what do they call it? A feeder. Basically, BlackRock has already filed where they filed with the government to say that we're going to start seeding our ETF products. So BlackRock has already been buying Bitcoin on the open market as well, or been buying it as well. So all these guys are going to look for any opportunity. So that's why I don't think like we're at 37,500 right now, right? Like, could we go down to 35,000? Absolutely. Could we go down to 35,000? Are we going to go to 32,000? I highly doubt it, right? Because remember, you got Saylor and BlackRock, and also the other ETF funds are also going to start seeding their funds as well. Everyone knows that it's right around the corner. Everyone's looking for a dip to buy up. So even if we get a little dip, in my opinion, it's going to get bought up super soon. And that's leading into, again, this bet that I'm making here at the end of the video, and how I'm teaching you guys how I plan on doubling my stack within the next 33 to 41 days. So Dylan LeClaire says, talk of ETF approval misses the forest for the trees. It's not just about immediate reactions or flows. It's about the recognition of BTC as an institutional asset. Pensions, endowments, insurance investment portfolios, etc., will soon be entering the arena with massive buy-side flows for the long term. In December 2020, Mass Mutual invested $100 million into Bitcoin. Massive, except not really. Mass Mutual manages $235 billion in assets with long-dated fiat liabilities. $100 million of Bitcoin is a 0.05% allocation. And we also assume, we've been talking about this for a while, that we think that most of these portfolio managers are going to encourage their clients, depending on their risk tolerance, to put anywhere between 1% to 5% of their portfolio into Bitcoin. And this is 2020, December 2020. That was a great move by Mass Mutual. They got their rates before the crazy 2021 bull run. So they did 0.05, obviously before Larry Fink and everyone did these ETFs, and basically became a completely legitimized asset, right? No one questions Bitcoin's legitimacy anymore. That's long. Those days are long behind us. That's so 2022, guys, 2021. Now we're almost in 2024. Bitcoin is a legit asset. Remember, it's a flight to quality. So the most interesting thing here is what's being said here. So this is Will again. He says, good post from Dylan. Lots of pontification about short-term price around the launch, including from me. But in the long term, it's irrelevant. Not only does an ETF stamp legitimacy on BTC and lowers career risk, it unlocks what stocks have had for decades, but BTC has not. Passive flows. So let me explain this to you. So passive flows essentially just mean when it's what Michael Saylor is doing. Michael Saylor is like the only institution who's like acting like everybody else will be acting once the institutions don't have to jump through so many hoops to participate. What that means is essentially when a business or a pension fund or anyone else has extra money and they need to deploy it somewhere, they're going to be looking at their basket of things to invest into, especially pension funds, endowments, big family offices, governments, everybody. They're businesses. These are all businesses and they all make money. And so it's not like they have unlimited amount of funds just to dump into Bitcoin in one day. But let's say in quarter one of 2025, a business puts in $100 million. And then in quarter two, they put in $50 million because they're earning revenue and they want to invest that and do a sound asset, right? Like Bitcoin. So what they're talking about here is passive flows, meaning that all these institutions, all these businesses, all these governments, all these funds will continue in perpetuity to buying along the way, because these guys are all looking how to balance a portfolio over decades, right? Not short-term price action, but decades of a long-term asset. That's what they've all been doing forever. On stocks are bullish on bonds, treasury bills, all this kind of stuff. And you can see actually in this one right here, He goes into a bit more about, a 0.05 allocation is just a start. There are many more mass mutuals out there. And all of these allocators are staring at their bond portfolio, which is down 50% from all-time highs, questioning their previous assumptions they held, right? This is a good point. Like, they're noticing as an investment manager, where else are you going to put your capital? You're not going to put, stocks, maybe stocks are going to do really, really well next year. So maybe they're allocating to stocks, but we know real estate is overpriced. We know that things like gold have been basically a stable coin moving forward, like forever. Bonds have had horrible returns, down 50% from all-time highs. Treasuries, are you really going to do long-term treasury bills? No, you're not, because the United States is in massive debt, and that's just getting worse and worse and worse. So people have to find a sound place to put their money with the sound monetary policy of Bitcoin, meaning that there's no more inflation forever. It's a very finite supply. There's only 21 million ever minted, but 4 million have been lost or gone forever. And so you know that when something's this scarce, this desirable, that it's a good place to put your money. So passive flows are one of the most interesting things. And when these guys, when BlackRock and Fidelity and all these guys who get these ETFs approved, they're going to get on the phone on day one, all of them. They're going to start selling the spot Bitcoin ETF product. But I'll tell you, a lot of their clientele are going to be older and not comfortable just yet. So they might get on a call day one, and they might have a 25% hit rate, meaning that, 1 out of 4 people they talk to say, yeah, that sounds good. Why don't you allocate some of my money into Bitcoin? And boom, that's done, right? That's a flow. But one guy might get on the phone and say, hey, you know what? This is really interesting, but I'm an old school kind of guy. I like my real estate. I like my stocks. I like my bonds, whatever. But, why don't you call me back in 6 months and we'll see how it's going. And then I'll decide then. And so 6 months later, he's going to give him a call and he's going to see the market's gone up. He's going to say, he's not going to have FOMO because this guy's rich, and rich guys, super rich people never have FOMO with investment decisions, especially when they're older. But he's going to be like, you know what? I've seen how everything's been going. Bitcoin's been up, and yeah, that sounds good. Why don't we do, let's start off with 1% today. And then, next quarter, he's going to get another phone call and he's going to be like, yeah, this has been going great. Why don't we do another 3%? And so this is what I mean by passive flows continuing for the future. It's something that we haven't really had from retail, right? All of us are a lot of us are degens, and we can't even keep our focus on anything, right? But these guys, they're not going to be looking at, the next Shiba Inu and Doge. They're going to be looking at parking serious capital that they need to take very seriously because it's retirement funds, it's people's money that they're managing. And so they're going to go into the most secure and least risky thing, which is Bitcoin. This is why I think it's going to be insane. And this is why I think Michael Saylor is going to, and MicroStrategies will be one of the top 10 most wealthy companies in the entire world, if not maybe one of the wealthiest in the world ever. And I won't get into how I do. Well, let's just put it this way. If they have 250,000 Bitcoin, which right now they have 175,000, I think it's safe to say that they'll get up to 250 at some point before it becomes too expensive. And that goes to $1 million. That means on their balance sheet, they'll have $250 billion. Do you know what a company is worth sitting on $250 billion liquid on their balance sheet? Multiply that by at least six, even if the company did nothing else, at least 6. So that would put it like a $1.5 trillion market cap, right? So, and that puts it in the biggest players of the world. Dude, this guy, Giga Chad Saylor, he's got a chess game. And it's not a short-term chess game, but it's a chess game, and to get himself into one of the most valuable companies in the entire world. So I want to show you guys one more thing too before we go into this bet that I'm about to make. So this is the Bitcoin halving chart. And what you can see here, guys, and by the way, before we do that, let's go check out Bitcoin halving, 138 days. Right now it's estimated to happen April 17th. I wouldn't mind if this got pushed back just 3 days later. Wouldn't that be epic if the Bitcoin halving was on 420? Okay, anyway, let's go back down and let me show you guys this chart here. So if you guys don't know, it's real quick. So when Bitcoin first launched here in 2009, every 10 minutes when a block was produced, 50 new Bitcoins were minted. And then 4 years later, bam, here, that 50 cuts down to 25 every 10 minutes. And then 4 years later, bam, that cuts down to 12 and a half. And then 4 years later, bam, this is where we are now. We're in this section right here. And this right here is April 17th, 2024. We will have there will have been between, I don't know if this is, maybe it's 19, 20 million, 20, probably 20, 19.5 million or so Bitcoin that will have been minted by this time. Now, remember that somewhere around 4 to 5 million Bitcoin have been lost forever, right? So if there's 19 million that have been minted and let's say 4 million of them are lost forever, that's only really 15 million in supply, right? In circulating supply. So now I want to get into this chart. This little thing I made. I made this in like 3 minutes, right? And where I got this from was this article here, which talks about, the biggest wallets that have Bitcoin. And these are the top 10 single wallets that are holding Bitcoin. I took out all the ones. I didn't include the ones that were linked to Binance or Bitfinex or whatever. So I just put those over here on this spreadsheet under Anon right here. And then I just, off the top of my head, there's so many more people like this, but I just, off the top of my head, I just threw in there who I know. Michael Saylor, the GBDC Trust, the Winklevoss twins. And so with just these alone, it's 1.434 million Bitcoin. And if the circulating supply is 15 million, in just these accounts alone, we're talking about almost 10% of the entire supply of Bitcoin. Now, what happens, remember in that tweet earlier, we said, what happens when the other, the other people become the mass mutuals or the micro strategies of the world, and they start accumulating Bitcoin? You don't need not to mention all the other people that have been around that have, I've met tons of people who have 10,000 Bitcoin, 20,000 Bitcoin. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these Anon wallets were people from the early days that were either mining them or they were very successful on something like Silk Road or whatever. But the point I want to make here, guys, is that it is an incredibly scarce asset. And maybe you don't realize that because the price hasn't gone absolutely parabolic to $1 million yet, but it will. This institutional adoption is literally mass adoption. And with it becomes something we call supply shock. And supply shock literally means when people just aren't willing to sell anymore. And every single day, there's more and more and more people who buy Bitcoin with the long-term vision of not trading it, but holding it for the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years as a retirement plan, as a store of value, a hedge against inflation. And so the circulating supply is getting incredibly thin. And let me know in the comments below if you want me to do a video on literally what is the circulating supply and how many Bitcoins are actually left moving around out there, because it's a very, very, very small number. This is why Bitcoin is so incredibly valuable. And with that being said, guys, I'm going to show you this move I'm about to make where it's in my opinion, it's a very, very low risk move. Now, this is on my Bybit account. I'm going to do a leverage trade right now. I don't have any trades open right now, as you can see. But because I have this conviction that we're going to see this ETF in between 33 to 41 days, I think personally that it's super realistic to expect us to go up to something like $48,000, right? It's a $10,000 pump from here. I think we probably might even go higher to 50,000, 52,000, by mid-January, late January. But we could even be higher, right? I think we'll be back to old, to 50. I think 50,000 is very, 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 very reasonable. I think it's going to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a trade right now, and I'm going to use 5x leverage. It's not aggressive at all, 5x leverage for me. If you want to be more conservative, bring the leverage down to like 3x or something like that. And so I'll show you what happens. And by the way, guys, if you want to join our VVIP group, I suggest that you do that. And we also teach you how to trade with leverage. We drop all kinds of alpha. We drop like 2 alpha coins in there today that we expect to go to pump like crazy. And but most importantly, like we're teaching each other how to trade, right? And so here's a pretty good thing for me. I'm gonna make this trade here. I'm gonna buy long with isolated 5x leverage, and this means right now that what you see on my screen is that I could go all the way down to 30,370 before I get liquidated. And as long as it doesn't get down to that level, I don't care if it drops down to $31,000. In the meantime, between now and ETF time, I'm fine with it, right? And this is actually a number that I'm also okay with losing. So you shouldn't do this with anything that would wreck you if you lose this, because of course leverage trading is always a gamble. You can lose everything that you're betting with here. But the point is that because I'm using 5x leverage, let me just open this trade up real quick. Okay, because I'm using 5x leverage, if this goes to $48,000 from where it is right now, that means so you just basically multiply this number by 5, which puts me at over 100% gains. It puts me at 115. Wait, is that right? No, 135. Yeah, 135% gains, which means that effectively with the market just doing, a 27% pump, I'm actually making 130%, which is over a 2x. So I'm essentially betting almost on my margin right now, almost 1 Bitcoin. You can see it's a little bit less, 32,000. I just picked a random number here because I want to guys show you the logic, not so much about the size of the bet here. And I'm expecting this to double. And when it 2x's, when we get this Bitcoin spot ETF approval, when the approval happens, it's going to skyrocket. And then there's going to be this wild speculative, very volatile after that. But for sure, it's going to go way up. Maybe even pumps to 55,000, 52,000 and comes down, maybe it settles around 50, 48,000. And then we find price discovery. And the closer that we get to the actual start of trading of the ETF product, because approval date and the start of trading is like 1 month after, 2 months after maybe. I'm expecting the first major pullback in the market, that 30% Bitcoin pullback, to happen on the day the ETF starts trading. That's just my guess, because we will expect to see these Bitcoin pullbacks, eventually here. So anyway, that's my logic, guys. That's going to wrap it up today. I hope that you guys found this valuable. I'll catch you tomorrow. Bye-bye.